Hello, people. Are you in the chat? Are you there to get some knowledge?
Hello, hello, hello.
Is your brain ready to absorb?
Ready to make your brain strong.
Absorb the content.
How is everyone doing?
I love these beginning of streams when people are just getting there, getting their glass of water, sitting down.
Yeah. Everyone get your cup of tea,
Uh-huh.
I hope everyone has been enjoying all the streams so far.
Seems like they've been. It's going wild in there.
Super cool. I saw David's yesterday and it was rad.
Yeah, it was so fun.
So cool.
They're all fun.
Yeah. Here I've got my two cats either side of me, and I hope they're not going to pounce on me during this. We'll have to see.
So while everybody gets comfortable in the chat, feel free to tell us what was the last of the ITE you saw. So like, were you there yesterday? Were you there like this morning? I'm curious, and if there's a little bit you preferred, feel free to tell us in the chat.
I saw the last one I saw was David's. I mean, I've already said that, but yeah, tell us in chat. But that was rad. And I heard tell there was a really good pitch one that I missed.
So yeah, I want to watch the recording of it because I was working when it was out.
Ooh, Ryan Ganner says this is my first.
All right. So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mel, but actually my name is Mary Eve, but I go by Mel because it's easier in English. And some people might also know me by Z, the letter Z, on the internet, because I have a YouTube channel where I do little free videos about, the animation industry and the game industry and music and stuff. So today I'm here with a very special guest. It is doigswift. And she's here to do cool things and draw and tell us about drawing and cool things. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm doigswift. I guess I'm probably best known for directing the Starlight Brigade music video for TWRP and Dan Avidan. I do a lot of Game Grumps music videos. I pressed allow on something on the stream. I'm learning how to do this. Yeah, so that's probably what people would best know me from. I've also just my first book that I've ever done, my first graphic novel, has come out as of yesterday. So that's really exciting. But yeah, I've been working in the industry for a while now. Worked on stuff like Wander Over Yonder. I've done some stuff on some video game cutscenes. I've done like a bit on the opening of Amphibia. I kind of bounce around to a lot of different places and do a lot of different stuff for animation and storyboarding. Probably the coolest thing I worked on recently was getting to storyboard for the Rise of the TMNT movie.
Yeah, that was your little dream come true.
Oh my gosh, I was such a fan of that series before I even got to work on it, and then I got to be part of it, and you guys aren't even ready for the movie. It's so cool.
Yeah. Hey Janelle, we don't see the screen. Oh no. Can you work your amazing streaming magic?
Maybe I just need to wiggle my mouse a bit.
No, I think it's just a little setting because it's a blank screen for the moment. So I think our amazing host Janelle needs to help us.
No, India, just reshare your screen and see if it's going to work.
Okay, no problem.
Technology.
Uno momento, por favor. There we go. Can you guys see this?
Ooh, it's coming.
Awesome.
There we go.
No, hey.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's a little something that I have that I would like to do anyway, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of do it while we hang out and chat.
All right, so yeah, so you did the work for Rise of the TMNT recently, and yeah.
Oh, and Transformers Prime as well. I got to storyboard on that. That was super cool.
Yeah. Very varied. That's really cool. And just before we actually start in the actual subject, which is like drawing and archery and stuff, one thing that is really interesting in what you just shared is one thing that I always praise for any students or any like people in the industry. It's easy to label ourselves as one thing, saying like, "Oh, I went to animation school, thus I am an animator," and nothing
Yes.
else. But that's not exactly true, and especially for me, like I graduated animation school and I was like, I have no idea what I will be. um, so don't be afraid to try stuff. Like India, you've done animation, you've done storyboarding, you've done comic books, you wrote and stuff. So and even for me, like I've done compositing, animation rigging, storyboard. So yeah, don't be afraid to try things.
Yeah, 100%. Like for me, it was always just a case of there was so much I wanted to try, you know? So
Exactly.
like, why limit yourself?
And you know, because oftentimes we hear like, yeah, but what if I fail? You know what? You might, but
You probably will. And
whatever. Yeah, just fail, and then either do it again, or realize that you might not like love it and do something else.
yeah,
Right?
listen,
You'll never
I learn
know it.
way more from failing than I ever did from succeeding.
Of course, of 100% course.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like I always liken it to learning to rollerblade. Like
Yeah.
part of learning to rollerblade is falling over, and you're gonna do it, and you just got to kind of accept that that's part of it. And the most important thing is just getting back up after you do.
Exactly. It's really good. But you know, wear protection because you don't want to break your knees and elbows because you only have two of them most of the time.
Yeah.
Some people only have one. That's even
There's
worse. So be careful.
There's a limited supply, so take care of yourself. Wear
Yep.
padding. And I guess in animation, the padding is having a cool, nice community who can make you feel better when things don't go exactly to plan.
Yeah. So yeah, let's go in this little more detail in this little interview. So thank you for the little introduction. So what you do generally is very varied, and yeah, people don't be afraid to try stuff. But at the moment, your main bread and butter would mostly be storyboarding, right?
Yeah, at the minute, I'm really enjoying
Did you finish your book?
storyboarding.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I kind of fell into it, but one of the things that I love about it is that with animation, often we have to do very precise work, and it takes a very long time to get a very short amount of footage. So I've been having a lot of fun storyboarding where, because you're using panels rather than frames, and you're kind of getting the storytelling poses and focusing on those, it's a lot faster to be able to get your ideas down. It doesn't involve my worst enemy cleanup as much. So
Well, that's why I clean up your animation.
thank you so much, Sia. You saved my life.
I like to clean up your animation.
You're so good at it.
Oh, thank you.
Cleanup's its own skill that I have not yet mastered.
Oh, but speaking of storyboard and panels and whatnot and cleanup, would you say that like because there's a difference between storyboarding in Harmony and storyboarding in Storyboard Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing personally that I love is the fact that it's harder to animate in Storyboard Pro. So it's like when you
find it harder.
Not harder, but like because Harmony is made for animation.
Yes.
Right? So and that's something I noticed with some of my students that are like, oh, I'm gonna storyboard in Harmony, but like each one of them fall into the trap of animating instead of storyboarding. But like
Yes.
it seems that Storyboard Pro is just so like accurate and good to do storyboarding. So like you're less falling into the trap of animating your thing.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it's you or someone else who told me the same thing.
Yeah. I absolutely still do fall into the trap of animating things in Storyboard
We do
Pro.
all.
But it is harder to do so.
Exactly.
I agree. Like I know a lot of people who storyboard in Harmony, and to me, I've always enjoyed Storyboard Pro more, just because the tools are so specific to what you're trying to do, and there's tools that you don't have in Harmony that make storyboarding so much easier.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that more, but I can totally see how you could storyboard in Harmony because it's such a flexible program.
It is.
You know, it really lets you do whatever you kind of want to do. So you can totally make it work for you.
Of course.
And many professional studios do so. In fact, I think Flying Bark, who are some of the best animators I've ever seen, storyboard in Harmony.
Yeah, I think it's like a volunteer thing, because like my buddy like Ash storyboard in Storyboard Pro, but I think their friend do it in Harmony. So like it just depends. Like use the tool that you prefer to do your stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, while you're drawing, because I was about to ask you if you had one amazing positive things to share that occurred to you this year, but I think your book is definitely one of them.
But yeah.
Do you have another one amazing positive event that occurred to you this year? Might or might not be art related.
Yeah, I guess honestly it's getting to move with my partner to our own place was an amazing positive thing that happened to me. We previously lived with a flatmate and he was awesome, but just having your own space and being able to set up your office the way you want it, you know, and really kind of being able to customize the place, that's been super cool. Still renting, so we can't knock down any walls or anything, but we got cats finally. We've wanted to do that forever. And now we can lounge around in our pajamas all day and no one judges us for it because nobody knows. So it's been really cool to be able to do that.
Nice.
Wait, there is another thing as well. Oh, I got to write a story for Sonic the Comic, the IDW Sonic the Hedgehog comic.
I was about to ask, but I'm like, that must be like copyrighted. But that's so cool, you can share it. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Yeah. You were so happy about that.
I was so pumped. For anyone who doesn't know in chat, Sonic the Hedgehog is like my absolute childhood hero. He's my favorite character of all time. Yes, it's a good year for Sonic, but I finally got to write a story for them, so I'm really excited about that. I keep forgetting because I keep feeling like it's something that I dreamed and it's not real, and then I remember, no, it actually happened.
I think he loves Sonic the Hedgehog as much like Lords of as much as he loves Star Fox. So like I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So I'm curious, what got you into animation at first? And more importantly, what keeps the fire burning? Because the classic questions of what got you on animation first, like we all love to draw and wanted to see our things moving, probably, but like what keeps the fire burning? Like how do you keep doing it after all these years?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I still want your answer for both. It's just that just what
I can't manage to ski my way past one of the questions. Damn you, Z.
Yay!
I guess what got me into animation to begin with was literally, it was just watching cartoons as a kid. Like, I love cartoons so much. I used to watch the old Sonic the Hedgehog series where Sonic's in Knothole and they're all like freedom fighters going to fight against Robotnik.
Yeah.
And yeah, like every Saturday morning it was cartoon time. And I would, sit down before I had to kind of go to swimming lessons and I'd get my couple of hours in of cartoons. And I was just like, as soon as I found out that doing animation was a job, like someone made the thing on screen, that was a series of drawings. I was just like, that was it. I was obsessed with becoming an animator. And I drew all the time anyway, just because I loved trying to draw the characters, that I loved so much. And in terms of like what keeps the fire burning, I honestly think it's feeling the progress of your own self-growth. I think it's pushing to get better and better at what you're doing. And a big part of that is seeing what other people do. So when I see a really good piece of filmmaking or a really good storyboard or a really good animation, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
You have to absorb.
Yeah. Absorb. Like I want to make something like that. And it gets me so pumped to like make the next thing and to try new stuff, like to try VR or to try using Blender or to, try different techniques I've never seen before.
That's super cool.
It's so exciting. It's just like there's unlimited possibilities with creating your own artwork. So seeing what people come up with and then seeing how far you can push it yourself, like that's huge. me, and that keeps me inspired every day. It's just seeing what people are coming up with.
And can you talk to us a little more about your personal art style and how you got there? Like, because you love Rise, you love Sonic, and all that, and I guess it must have influenced a bit the way you draw, the way you make art. But when you practice and when you're trying to like study and get these things going, is there a specific method, or like how do you kind of absorb and integrate other inspiration and work and all that? Is there like a specific way that you sometimes do it?
It's fan art. It's fan art.
Yeah. Or like bring in the fan art, because guys, it's so important. Do fan art. I mean,
It's
right.
all the time. And like personally for me, I find a lot of fun in trying to emulate the style of a show. So
I know, right? It's so fun.
Exactly, yeah, because it pushes me out of my comfort zone every time I try it, because I'm trying something completely new that I haven't drawn before in a new style. And I feel like that kind of flexes muscles that you haven't used, you know, when you're just stuck in your kind of comfort zone of drawing. So one of the things I did was I did some Rise of the TMNT as Vines animations, where I took Vine audio and I animated Rise of the TMNT characters to them. And I tried to get them as close as I could to the show. And I didn't get it 100%, but I got pretty close. And doing that, like, taught me a lot about animation. It taught me a lot about that style. And so, yeah, fan art is kind of the way that I internalize that stuff and get a feel for it. And that's so fun. Fan art is my excuse to animate Sonic all the time.
Oh, that's so cool. I've always been the same, and it's just so fun to sometimes try to imagine like more in that universe as well. Like, how can you like push it further and integrate it and stuff? Like, your vines were so funny, but they were like still in respect to like the original lore, so that's super interesting.
Yeah, it was fun to imagine the characters in those scenarios. And of course, because the vines themselves were already so funny, it was like the comedy was already there. I just had to try and sell it with the animation.
Oh, that is so cool. And can you tell us a little bit about the first job entering the industry versus where you are now? Because we've been talking about both of us going a bit all over the place in the industry, but how does one get there? Because I mean, I know you, and I know that I know a bit of the path, but like it's super interesting how it takes a lot of like courage and stuff, because sometimes you might think you're comfortable in a position and be kind of afraid to go in another one. So um, yeah, it's very inspiration to see a bit of your path, like how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, it's very interesting actually. I was having this discussion with some friends the other day, and the subject came up of the fact that I'm a spontaneous person, which is a nice way of saying I don't plan ahead very well. So I've always been a little bit of a risk taker, but it wasn't always that way. My first job in the industry was I was a UI artist for Sonic the Hedgehog mobile games at Sonic at the Sega Hardlight studio. Because it was really just at that point, right? I was out of university and I was at home all day, like working part-time jobs, trying to figure out how I was going to get into the industry. And for me at that point, it was really like just anything. Give me anything, any foot in the door, anything which is even adjacent to art. Like, I will draw you sandwich art for the front of your shop. I'll paint an ice cream truck. I'll do whatever, so long as it's art related.
But
That's
this
what I
is
want
so
to do.
important.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna like make a little push on this, because I think I mean, we are roughly ish the same age, and we didn't grow up like what artists have these days. Like, we didn't grow up with Instagram and with like Twitter with a tablet in our hand. So having information was a bit harder, but today a lot of people have information right from the get-go, and they're like, I want to get the job that India has, or I want to get the job that Mel has. And it's like we don't get there right away. Like, there's so many baby steps to take, and like your first job might not be your dream job, but it's like a small baby step that's gonna get you somewhere. Like it's a journey, not a arrival.
Yeah. It's like you can't really, it's so hard to see the path going forward, right? Because my path into animation is like really kind of like you wouldn't expect me to start off life as a UI artist,
Me
but
neither.
that's what happened, and that's how I got where I was now. I took the opportunity, and I gotta say, most of the reason I took it was because it was Sega, and I was like, Sonic. But I took it, and that job was like honestly one of the coolest places I've worked. Everyone there was so nice and so cool. And, to speak a little bit more personally about it, I was kind of in a bad place at that point in my life because coming out of university, I'd been working for a company who they didn't give me any kind of sense of self-worth. They were they were not the best people to work for. They tried to get by without paying as much as they could.
I'm sorry for that. I'm glad you made it out though. That's
Yeah,
great.
I mean, the main thing was that it really knocked my confidence in my abilities because I remember at one point I said to them, like, I just can't work for you for nothing anymore. Like, I need to pay my rent and I can't afford to stay where I'm staying. And, if you can't pay me, I'm going to have to leave. And I think their words were like, if you go through the door, then it's closed to you. There's no coming back. And at the time, that was really scary because I didn't have anything else.
But you know what? So many studios do that, and not
Mhm.
studio, but I mean like workplace. And I'm, I really hope that people hear us today and just understand that it. I think it's super far from the truth. Like there's so many other doors for you to go. Like don't listen if they're like if you leave, we're gonna blacklist you and stuff. Like just
Oh,
it's really
100%.
toxic environment.
Yeah, don't listen to them. Like it feels like it's the end of the world at the time because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have anything else. So it's like, oh my gosh, I could be making a huge mistake here. But don't listen to them. They're talking bull. So yeah, I that was really scary. And I left and it took me a while to find another job and I was like, oh no,
And
I've
it's
screwed
not
it
easy.
up.
Like
I've
it's easy. It's yeah.
yeah, yeah, like my confidence was basically like it was super low and I was honestly self-sabotaging a little bit because I was too scared to apply for animation jobs because I thought I was going to get rejected. So I was like, I have to get better first. I have to get better first. I have to get a really good reel together so that I can get myself into an animation career. And everyone at Hardlight was super supportive of that and just really awesome. And being there in such a nice environment really built back up my confidence. And I made so
That's
many
great.
friends
I'm
there.
glad to hear.
Yeah. So I started working mornings and nights to get my animation reel together. And eventually, long story short, I applied for a role as an animator in Boulder Media, who were doing Wonder Over Yonder at the time,
Uh-huh.
which is one of my favorite cartoons. And they said yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? What? I'm going to be an actual animator. I'm going to move to Ireland. I'm going to be an actual animator and make cartoons, and it's going to be amazing. And one of my biggest regrets was waiting that long to apply because I feel like I kind of could have done it earlier, but I was so blinded by the
Yeah, but
feeling of,
probably while you waited, yeah, you probably like maybe like you I don't know, maybe like you had more time. Maybe like I'm pretty sure like you've learned things along the way, and like even if it's just like self development or whatever, like
Mhm.
um yeah, it's super
Yeah, I
hard
did.
because I
I
know I
did.
regret a lot of things like that, but I'm sometimes it's so hard that I try to think about it. I'm like, but there was probably something like a reason for it or something.
Yeah. Like I say it like that because I don't want people to put off applying for something because of
Mm-hmm.
confidence issues. But at the same
Oh, you're
time,
right.
it
Yeah.
was so necessary for me to have that time because like I needed to build my confidence up before I could hit that button on apply,
Do you
you
know
know?
how, in a way, you kind of what helped to build your confidence up? Like, did you have a good like maybe a good support circle, like you good like friends, family, and how did you do it?
Yeah, it was a couple of things. It was my wonderful supportive partner, Michael Doig, who has always believed in me. Um, and that's huge. And then at Hardlight, it was just the fact that everyone was so like, yeah, go for it, India. Like we're here for you. We think you can do it. And, you know, they were such a nice studio. Like, for example, I told you that I was hired as a UI artist.
Uh-huh.
Well, pretty quickly, my lead there, Joe, realized that actually my passion was animation and Sonic the Hedgehog. And he would go out of his way to try and find things for me to do
That's
that were
really
involved with
nice.
animation. Yeah, to the point where they would like make it part of projects they maybe hadn't planned it being part of before, because they wanted to give me a chance to kind of flex my muscles on it and see what I could do and give me an opportunity to practice it. So they were just so wonderful about it. And just the things which also were not work related were super helpful. Like just hanging out with friends and playing board games and chatting to people and kind of re-entering life after kind of living on my own for a little bit and having all these confidence issues and getting to just hang out with people and laugh and have a life. That was huge in restoring my confidence.
And I just want to push a bit on what you just said before, because I I didn't understand it well, but now I do. Because I thought you didn't apply at Boulder just because there was no job opening. I didn't get that it was like a confidence
Oh yeah.
issue. But now that I understand it, I just wanted to like I completely side with you on this one. Like it's like we said, it's not easy, but it's so important. Like applying to places is, and I know it's not easy, but like applying is so important. And the worst that can happen is that it doesn't work. But
Mhm.
hey, you can just try again later. You can keep working, and sometimes, like I think Pat, yeah, our friend Pat Stanner told us that before. Like sometimes if you don't get the part or you don't get the job, sometimes it's not just because you're like maybe the skill level was not there. Sometimes it's just not the right moment, right? Maybe they
Yeah.
don't have openings. They don't have exactly like a room maybe for a junior. But keep asking, keep trying, and keep just opening your horizon. Maybe there's one place that's gonna have the right path for you. So
Yeah. Well, small, keep improving. Like it was just the other day I saw this amazing tweet from someone who's working at Pixar now who
oh yeah, I saw
applied
it
first
too.
time. Yeah, they got rejected, but then they came back the next year with a new
And they got
portfolio.
it.
Yeah, and they're in.
That's so inspiring. I love this.
But I think the main thing is like, because I know I was very lucky that when I applied, I got in, and that really helped with my confidence. But it must still be very hard to apply and still get the no once you gear yourself up for it. The best thing I can say about that is just find a really good friend group who support you.
Yeah.
Find people who believe in you and stick with them. And if you're with a lot of people who are toxic about that kind of stuff, see if you can distance yourself from it,
Yeah.
because it's sad to
Distances.
say it's thing in the industry sometimes, and it can really help. It can really hurt your confidence and kind of
Mhm.
feeling that you can get somewhere with what you're doing.
Yeah, try to find people that give you momentum instead of taking it from you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want there to be like a nice exchange of inspirational energy
Uh-huh.
between people rather than kind of inspiration vampires or something.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's just so important. And in a way, like, and that's super important for people like listening. I don't know for you, but like, I'm a professional animator. I'm quite successful in what I do, but I got my share of no's. Like I applied for feature films, I applied for things, and I got turned down, and that's just life.
Yeah.
And sometimes I talk to my students in school, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to be a professional animator and just do everything and never get like no as an answer for a job." I'm like, well, it happens to everyone. Like
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. It's just not the right time, not the right place, and
It's the roller skates. You gotta fall over.
yeah,
Like I applied for the Gumball show before I applied for Wonder, and I got rejected from that.
yeah,
I did a
it
test with them and
happens.
everything, but yeah, it happens.
It hurts, and it's valid to feel sad about it. But after that, like live your emotion. But after that, just get up and try something else. And
Self-confidence is so huge. It's so huge. You gotta
Mhm.
believe in yourself. Like you can do it. You've got that fire in your soul.
And if you can't believe in yourself, there's people that are gonna that are going to believe in yourself. for
If you
for
don't
love.
believe in yourself, believe in the me that believes in you.
Yeah, that's Gurren Lagann. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So great. Oh, that's so cool. Hey, we have a little question in the chat, and it's really interesting. Um, we have okay. So for people who are just and it's Frenchy Marinas who ask. I hope I said that right.
Hello.
For people who are just learning animation and or storyboarding, what are some things you think beginners struggle with, and how can they overcome those? Also, hi Inja, I just got your book. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Also, I recognize you from the streams that my partner and I do. Welcome. Thank you so
That's
much for
cool.
being here. It's so nice to see friendly faces in the chat. You guys are awesome. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, if there's one thing that I struggle with, and I've seen other people struggle with, it's the big scary perspective. Like, perspective is hard, but it's so huge for animation and particularly storyboards. Like, it's intimidating to learn. It's scary because it seems super complicated, but it's so important and it can make such a huge difference to your work. So I think I'd recommend studying that. And the best way to study it is just to like figure out how it works and draw it again and again and again. Draw cubes, draw buildings, draw people, draw bounding boxes for these things, try them at different angles, try placing characters. Yeah. Like, oh, who's that amazing artist online who does those incredible drawings that he can just do with an ink pen straight from scratch? It's like Jung Kim or something.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
very
I think I know
famous.
the name too. Yeah.
I'm so bad with names, but his perspective work's astounding. Just do like that. Do like he does. Get yourself a pad and paper and a pen, and get yourself out to a cafe and just do some doodling. You know, be safe because
That's
it's
usually
still
what I
scary
do
out
in
there.
summer.
But yeah, you know, looking at online reference, just trying stuff out, having fun with it. And there's a lot of really good guides as well online that you can find for learning perspective.
And that question was just perfect to ease in, because we just talked about like career and how we get there, like more of like the behind the scene part of our industry. But now I think we could focus a bit more on like the actual process, like the thought process and the art process. And for that, we have a bunch of little questions prepared for that. So yeah, and by the way, thanks again, Frenchies Marina, for the question. And
thank you.
And I think this next point is very great, especially for beginner. So when you animate, like for example, now you're making this scene, like how do you approach a scene? Because it's easy to think of animation just as one drawing after the other, but it is acting. I remember in school they were like wonder what your character is thinking, what goes on before and after. So what is your thought process when you approach a scene?
A lot of what I do, especially with emotion, it comes from my gut. I really have to like feel it out and feel what feels right to me in the scene. So for example, the little bit I'm doing now, this is based on a storyboard that I have, because I'm meant to be animating a trailer for Girl in the Glim, and there's some shots I still have to do. So I figured I'd do a bit on stream. So as you can see behind here, I've got this storyboard of some of the panels of her running into camera. And because it's a running scene, I think probably I'd handle this, or I am handling it straight ahead. It's probably the way that I do it. Whereas if it's a more static shot, like for example, where she stops here and we rotate around, exactly. I'd probably do this pose, I'd do this pose, I'd do that pose, and then I'd go between them to get a nice smooth result.
That's super interesting, because oftentimes when people first learn animation, and that's normal because we all have to start somewhere, it's easy to fall into the trap that there is one way to do it. My teachers, like one of my first teachers said that was the way, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. Like, no, like teachers, there are many kind of teachers, many different approach and many different situation. A talking scene is different than just an action scene. Because it's easy to fall into the trap. When we start animation school, people are like, never do straight ahead, it's bad. It's not bad. You just have to know the rules before you break them. But action and straight ahead go so well together.
Oh, they do. They really do, because you get into that flow state where you're like, really each new pose is based on the previous one. And that's like, it gives you this energy and kind of kinetic feeling to your work that you don't really get in post pose.
And I see that you are flipping a lot more than using the onion skin. Can we discuss about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because I think we
dislike
agree on that point.
yeah, I dislike onion skin.
Yeah.
I don't really use it. I tend to use it only when I'm either inking or doing very tight in-betweens.
Exactly.
When I'm doing tight in-betweens, it's a lifesaver. If I'm trying to create interesting animation, like really what I'm trying to do when I flip between pose to pose is see the contrast between the drawings. And it's so much easier to see that when
it's quicker.
Yeah, when you're just flipping from drawing to drawing. I find it has really helped strengthen my poses and make for more interesting drawings to do it that way.
So
because I'm not beholden. No worries. I'm not kind of beholden to the lines underneath, and the lines underneath aren't obscuring my view of what I'm doing.
So when you flip, do you do this thing? I don't know, because when I flip, I try to I flip a bunch of back and forth, and then you try to kind of see where you could put the next stroke to see where it's gonna land to keep the momentum going. Is it a bit what you're doing? Because I'm trying to analyze your every move that you're
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, what pose would be interesting here? What feels right? Like, what is the drawing I'd want to see next? Like, what is my brain telling me should go here? And then once you kind of have it, you can see I'm doing a lot of tweaking now. I'm a lot of I want to get this kind of angle, right? So I want to push the foot over more. And do I want this leg to kind of splay out more?
To get contrast and readability, silhouette, all these words.
Exactly, because it's a dynamic drawing. I want to avoid things like, here we are, like parallel lines like that, right?
And tangents.
So
no tangents.
Yeah, so pushing the leg a little bit more like this, so it's more like this kind of an angle, it makes for a more interesting drawing. So stuff like that, I'm looking for the flow of the pose. I'm looking to see if I've got any repeating shapes in there that I should make more different to one another. Are these two arms kind of having equal importance now? Do I want to kind of make this one a little smaller and chunkier so that it's a more interesting drawing and has a little more dynamism going on in it? And a lot of this stuff I learned from a Samantha Youssef drawing course.
Oh, I went to a workshop with her.
She's so good.
So kind.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's got a book out on poses, and I really recommend it. She worked at Disney back in the day, and she's just great at what she does.
She's great for balance and silhouette and stuff. And I like the way that she explains stuff. It's really, really great.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a short workshop with her. I think it was a 3-day workshop, and it changed the way that I drew forever. No joke. It was one of the most influential things I've ever done. She's incredible. So if you can get to one of her masterclasses, then I recommend them.
And by the way, I don't know if you're probably not, but in the chat, people are really, really, really loving this so far.
Oh, thanks.
They're really excited about the drawing style, and it's really cool. I like to see all these little comments, super nice. It's awesome. They love the drawing style of this animation. It's sweet. So just for the people who just came in, can you give a little context for what you're animating?
Yeah. So for anyone who just came in, my first ever graphic novel released yesterday. So it's out. It's out in the wild and people are reading it, and it's the scariest thing that's ever happened. Although it's also super great. And I have been working on an animated trailer with some animation friends to try and kind of put the book under people's noses and try and, get it seen by people. So we've put out some animated teasers, but there's still some shots that are left to animate that I'm hoping to get done in the next month. So this is one of them. And I have a little storyboard behind here for what's going to happen in the shot, which actually I should probably play for you guys so you can see what I've got going on here.
Amazing.
Let me just press play.
Could you press could you press Control F twice so we can zoom in on it and really see it?
Yes. Let me also turn off my animation layer.
Thank you. Oh, it's
F.
oh,
F doesn't work for me. F is a different shortcut. But I can.
just do the drawer thing. Yeah.
I'll drop this down.
And by the way,
just
I say it
zoom
all
in.
the time, but I love the way you draw like poses and anatomy, like when you do like your figure drawing. Which, by the way, people, it's important. Do your figure drawing.
Yeah,
But
100%.
like it's such a great line, and I wanted to say it because I love it so much. I'm a big fan.
Pop. I'm trying to pop this out. Let's put it somewhere.
Oh,
over here.
it works. You're fine.
As you can see, I am a professional and definitely know what. Oh no. Well, we had a good run.
Yeah, it's fine. Just leave it like that.
Here you are.
There you go. That's so cool. Wow.
So this is the scene that I'm animating.
I love the way you animate all these creatures.
Oh, thank you. At some point I have to get to the creatures, and that will be a lot of fun to animate.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the creatures, because I saw the little snippet you shared on Twitter, and it reminded me of a bit when I did some effects on another show. And when you have a massive creatures like that, I'm just curious on how you approach it, because from what I understood, you kind of do the shape first, and the thing you track that kind of like photos are like this few eyes of the creatures. So do you have like a thought process for it?
Yeah, I definitely approach it bigger shape first. Like I think about kind of the negative shape as well. First off, the big mass of it. And then after that, it's like, okay, what can I use these eyes to show the movement? Can I use these eyes to show maybe the dimensions of it, like where it's wrapping round, because having obviously eyes like this is very different to having like, for example, something more like,
it gives more three-dimensional approach of to the thing.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, if it's moving, then you might want this instead. If it's smashing down on something.
Sometimes to do those, I like to use on top of like the general skewing of like the select tool, like the I forgot how it's called, but like it's in the select tool. Is the I forgot how it's called. Oh my god, how can I forget this? I use it all the time.
How could you forget?
Like the warp tool. It's like the warp tool. Wait, Mary blank. I don't know. It's a tool.
It's a tool.
I'll find it later. But thanks for sharing. This is so great. And I guess you kind of group the eyes together, as I saw in the storyboard, to kind of like organize them so they're more like zones instead of just noise of many eyes. It's like there's a kind of a direction and an intention for them.
Yeah, like because sometimes you want to indicate that the creature is looking at a certain place, right? And you also just want to make sure like you don't want them so regular that it's just like a predictable repeating pattern. So you want to kind of do a variety of shapes and sizes and kind of have them clustered around a little bit so that there's more interest to what's going on with the shapes. The way I like to think of it is always like it shows surface contours and surface details. Like on this character here, for example, when I do her legs and I end up like taking it from rough to tie down, I put these contours on, which is something I picked up from really admiring Jonan Vasquez's work when I was a kid. I used to love Jonan Vasquez. And these just really help to show the contour of the leg. So, for example, on this leg, on the left leg, I'm having the contours go up. And on this leg, the screen right leg, I'm having them go down. And it shows like which one's coming toward the camera. Yeah. And it's the same thing with the eyes and the surface details on the top of this like massive monsters.
It really helps to also when you go from like rough or model to clean. Even if in cleanup we don't do them, it at least me it really helps me like understanding the momentum of the action. It's really cool.
Yeah, like every detail that you have on a character design, right? You kind of want it to say something and be able to be used in a way in animation to describe something, whether that's the movement or it's the rotation. You kind of want every element of your design to have an impact in the way that is perceived by people.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so having like the lines on the hair help me to show the depth and the kind of the way that hair's overlapping on itself. So it adds that kind of nice bit of tactile texture to it. The hoodie ties help add that nice secondary action, so I can do kind of counter motion to what's happening with the main character. The bagness of the hoodie adds like this weight and is also super important to the character's kind of thought process. This character is very nervous, so she kind of hides away in this big kind of comfort sweater. So getting the thickness of the material, having it drape over her is like really important. Having the legs be super clear of the silhouette, so making them thinner to add interest, so I have contrast with the bigger bulks of the larger, shapes of the upper body.
I guess that's when, even if you have your model sheet, like it's not about tracing your model sheet. Like, the model sheet is more like it's a direction of what your character is. But if you need to push it to make a pose more dynamic, then make the leg a little longer and stuff. So it's okay to be flexible. I mean, if the styles allows it, like for fully realistic, you might want to push it a bit less, but
yeah, like definitely, it's more like guidelines.
Exactly.
You always want to be free to distort, push, and pull your character, because that's going to give it life, and it's going to make it feel weirdly more real.
And that's true for cutout as well, you guys. You don't need to move like things perfectly.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a stiff character in animation.
Yeah. I'm going to go check a little bit of the questions. And by the way, people in the chat, it's not because we ignore your questions, just because, it's conversation. I hate to just interrupt people to go with the questions, but I think we're at a good little break point to go check out questions. All right, so we have Toon Boom ATE, of course. That's another question. Okay, Michael Dorig asked, we already answered that. What is Ninja thinking about when she's posing the character in this run animation? I think we already went over that. Unless you wanted to add anything.
No, I think we did cover it pretty well.
India, this animation really has a loose... that's from Mike Melançon, I think. India, this animation really has a loose storyboard animatic look to it. Do you clean all this up before turning this in? Or is that someone else's job? We kind of touched upon it, but yeah. It's interesting, I think.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's an interesting question, because for this particular animation, because I get to direct this trailer, because it's kind of my project, so I kind of get to make the rules a little bit. There is no cleanup. There's only tie down. So basically, this is actually pretty much as tied down as I'd make it.
It is really clean, though. You do have, because of how you, like I said before, because of how you draw, you have a very steady hand like style when you do your model cleanup, so it works so well. I'm so glad you're going for that direction. Super
Thanks.
Cool.
I have been told that I have quite clean lines just naturally. So in this project, we're only doing tie down, because cleanup is a big weakness of mine, and it's also something which I find is often underestimated by larger companies and how much time it takes up. Basically, if you've animated something, it's going to take you at least as long as it took you to animate it to clean it up. Yeah. So, like, we really didn't have that much time to get this trailer out. I kind of made the executive decision to only do tie down for this trailer. And this is probably actually as tied down as I make it, because I have a certain... I have a likening for rough animation. I think there's something about rough animation where there's a life that it retains, and there's like this feeling of texture that it has. There's this crunchiness that these rough lines have that I really enjoy aesthetically. I love the look of it. So I figured I'd take advantage of that. Why not lean into the fact that it will look really fun because it'll be rough, but it will also save us time because we don't have to do the cleanup pass. However, when I do projects where there's animation,
if cleanup was needed.
If cleanup was needed, if I was doing an animation where cleanup was involved, I can do it. I would say that I'm not the world's strongest cleanup artist. That's its own set of skills, and people who do it are incredible. Like the draftsmanship of cleanup artists, because they'd have to not only find the right line and clean it up.
We have to understand we're kind of translating what you guys do. Like there's a lot of at least for me, there's a lot of respect, like mutual respect that goes into it. And
100%. Like a good cleanup artist can make or break a scene. They can make your stuff much better and clearer, They can fix mistakes and emphasize lines where they need to be emphasized and really bring it to life. Or if it's a not great cleanup artist, they can kind of kill the momentum of the scene. So it's incredibly important, and it's not something that I'm super skilled at. So I often ask Z to help me out when I'm doing personal projects where
I mean, to which its skills, your animation are incredible. Like I just look at them, I'm like, I want to do that too, but you know, I've got other skills. It's fine.
yeah, you've got your own set of skills. I can't animate like you can, and you know that's like that's the big strength in like following your gut and leaning into what you enjoy doing. Is that you might really admire what other people are doing, but no one can do it quite like you can.
That is absolutely correct. That's a super nice way to put it.
Yeah, and it's inspiring to all the other people who are trying to. Like, I love looking at other people's work and seeing what people are doing and learning from that. I'll never do it quite like they can, but learning from it really pushes my own skills and my own style.
Yeah, it's just people influencing each other in a positive way.
Yeah. I should say, when I'm storyboarding for a company, I am expected to clean up the boards a little bit. Probably a little bit more than I've got them here. Because it's my own personal project, I have a little bit of leeway with that.
Yeah, because you're the one working on it. But when it's a bigger like studio, it's about sharing with someone else. So it needs to be clear for them instead of just you. Like you know what you're doing. You know what you're writing. But sometimes others.
Yeah.
So
being a storyboard artist and being an animator, and in fact doing anything in animation, because animation is such a group sport.
It's a teamwork.
It is. It's so much about like, are you making it as easy as possible for the next person to do their job? And the better you are at doing that, the more people will love working with you. So label your files, make sure that your node views are tidied up, make sure things are easy to find and you've deleted out things you don't need in there anymore. And the person next down the line is going to appreciate it so much.
Yeah, that is entirely true. Oh man, honestly, thank you for coming over. This is such a great talk.
It's so nice to hang out with you.
I feel great now. I don't know for you guys in the chat, but I feel great.
It's a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Also, wait, we had another question that I saw there. Okay, it's about FX animation.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I lost it. What is this? Okay, I got it. India, any tips on special effect drawing, like kick up, speed lines, and etc.? And by the way, this will be our last, I think, question because we have to wrap this up in like 5-ish minutes. So. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it went so fast. What happened? What happened? I got 3 drawings done. I was having too much fun talking.
Yeah. So like, let's say you had like 3, like a 3-sentence tip for animation.
Do the shape first. Don't worry about the lines. Do it like a block shape, and don't worry about the line art straight off the bat. Apart from if you're doing speed lines, in which case do worry about it. But for things like dust, worry more about the overall shape, and have fun with it. Remember that the same rules apply to effects animation as apply to character animation. Squash and stretch, appeal in the drawing, dynamic poses, lines of action, all that stuff. Like, handle your effects like it's a character. And it's the same for environments as well. Like, handle everything with the care you would a character, because they are all characters in the thing that you're creating, and they're all helping to create the style and the feel that the viewer's going to get from what it is that you're animating. So you might see here that the style for the girl in the glim stuff that I'm drawing is there's like a blockiness to it. Lots of kind of square, angular shapes. And I carry that through to the effects animation too, so that the whole thing feels cohesive. You can have a lot of fun doing really unconventional effects animation. And as usual, if you want to do something realistic, reference.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have said. Reference is so important because it helps. And not about tracing it, but just like understanding the journey and the movement of all these little...
Yeah. Listen, reference is so useful that some people think it's cheating. That's how useful it is. Like, it honestly feels like when you use reference, you're like, wait, is it meant to be like this easy? And it's like, yes, it is. That's the power of looking at real life to inspire your art.
Exactly.
The difference between reference and tracing is when you're referencing it, put your own spin on it. Like, do something that puts yourself into it. Don't draw it over the top, have it next to you, and draw what you see rather than having it underneath your canvas.
And if I were to say, what are your like 3 favorite like things about Harmony, like features or nodes or whatever? What do you why do you like working in it?
Oh my gosh.
It's a nice thing to finish on.
It is. Like, I've been using Harmony since basically university. It's been my program for that entire time, and I've never looked back. I love so much about it. Probably the thing I love the most, which is something you guys will have seen me do a lot through this interview, is the fact that I can draw very nice lines in vector. Like, I'm not used to being able to draw nice lines in vector, only in bitmap.
Only your
And
Harmony
the
offers that.
yeah, and the advantage to it is, as you can see, I'm able to push and pull the lines around to get them exactly the way I want them, or to try out different things really fast without needing to redraw.
You mean this is not cheating? We are allowed to do that?
Yeah, it's a huge time saver, and it's great. It just helps you get what's in your head onto the page faster. And you know, it's a feature that I find it hard to live without, and I do live without it sometimes because sometimes I animate or draw in different stuff. But I always miss it just because it's so nice to be able to get a line that maybe is, you know, if you're an artist, you'll know sometimes you get those lines where they're like, oh, that would be so perfect if it was angled just 20% up.
Yeah.
But since it's not, now I have to draw 20 more of them until I can get it right. With Harmony, you can just be like, I will just rotate it 20% up, and the line is now just what I wanted it to be. So that's huge. I also just find the node view really fun.
The fact that you can like do your animation and your comp like in the same
Yes.
place, like you can do like some things on the fly.
Yeah, mainly it's the fact that I'm a really visual person. So I always find it very difficult to parse mentally what's happening in
Me
lists
too.
and
The
lists.
timeline is hard. I prefer the node view as well for like organization and whatnot.
Yeah, like looking at a file structure where it's just a list of words. My not like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to spend 15 minutes trying to sort out where everything is and figure out what's going on here. But the great thing about the node view, if I just get it up, ba-doop.
Yeah, because often people are scared of the node view, but it's just another visual and help for you to get your little ideas around.
It's scary to begin with, but once you understand it, then it's awesome. Then it's powerful. So you have like your composite, and then it visually represents like these are my 3 layers that I have in there.
You can even click on the triangles on the left to make them thumbnails. And by the way, we have 2 minutes left.
Oh no!
I know,
and they're in the order that they are in the timeline. So if I switch these around, you can see it switches into timeline. It's like just such a visual way to represent things. And if I was to put like a blur node in here between the roughs and the composite, then it would blur
it's
it.
Gonna glow.
Yeah, it's just like a really visually friendly way to do it.
And I see you rotate your screen a lot. I guess that's another thing that's just so easy to do with the software. You can like zoom in and out.
Yeah,
and,
I love
rotate.
Exactly. I love rotating the canvas around while I'm drawing. That's so helpful.
You can even flip it with the mirror tool on the top of your camera.
I keep forgetting to do that. I don't flip nearly as much as I should. That's like my big weakness. I never flip.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we have one last little minute. And I would like to use it to give you one last shout out. Because, thank you so much for coming here. And it's so exciting to see your book that came out yesterday. If people, you just came in, remember that your book just came out, and there's many ways to go read it. And there's the website. It's all in the links in the chat right now.
Yeah, it's called The Girl in the Glen. It's a supernatural action, adventure, horror, friendship story about a girl who moves to a new town, doesn't fit in, and then as the only person able to see monsters when they attack the town, she has to kind of make that call. Is she going to save the place where she doesn't feel welcome? And how the heck is she going to do that? So that's the first volume is out now, and I hope anyone who gets it really enjoys it because I had a blast making it.
Well, thank you so much again for coming, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Yeah, everyone have an incredible day. Enjoy the rest of the panels.
Woohoo!